So now we will listen to Anna Maria Stoian-Chu, and she again is the manager of electronic waste recycling program. And I'll give you a little bit more information on Anna Maria. In her role, she is responsible for the development, implementation, and administration of this program for CalRecycle in California. And Ms. Stoian-Chu has extensive expertise on e-scrap legislation, the circular economy, sustainable material management, and the environmental and innovation policy. So it will be interesting to see her view on these changing programs. So, Anna Maria, please.
Thank you, Dennis. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Maria Stoian-Chu, manager of California's e-waste recycling program with Department of Resources Recovery and Recycling, also known as CalRecycle. Today, I will discuss where California may be headed and present the future of e-waste management in California, policy recommendations that CalRecycle adopted in May this year. But before we delve into those policy recommendations, I would like to provide you a brief background of the Electronic Waste Recycling Act, the Cover Electronic Waste Program, recent programmatic dynamics, and regulatory actions. The Electronic Waste Recycling Act of 2003 established a funding mechanism intended to improve and provide for the proper end-of-life management of certain video display devices such as televisions, monitors, laptops, tablets, and DVD players. California was the first state to identify the need to support proper end-of-life management of specific e-waste and take action. The consumer fee and payment program is a unique model in the nation, and California is the only state that has this programmatic model. The other states have various forms of extended producer responsibility models. It's been 15 years since the passage of the Electronic Waste Recycling Act, and the program has been very successful. Nearly 2.3 billion pounds of car electronic waste has been collected and properly managed. A robust collection and recycling infrastructure exists throughout the state, providing free collection opportunities for consumers and relieving costs for local jurisdictions. Also, public and environmental health is protected by ensuring appropriate final disposition of materials. However, with all the changes in technology, global markets, as well as electronic waste coming into the recycling stream, which are not currently covered, we have to consider whether the existing approach to e-waste management will be as effective in the future. So I want to show you here the evolution of the material coming into the payment system. As you can see, there's a decline in pounds claimed. Also, historically, CRT material has been the dominant stream. We see a decline there as well. In yellow, you can see the non-CRT portion. For non-CRT, under California, we mean LCD TVs, monitors, and laptops, as well as plasma TVs. So non-CRTs have been increasing. They are now about 14% of the overall volume by weight. January to June 2018 data, which is not included on this graph, shows a significant decline in CRT volumes, 10 fewer million pounds of CRTs. Also, non-CRTs have remained flat compared to last year. So we see a significant decline in CRT material, and non-CRTs have remained flat. In terms of approved participants, we currently have 26 approved recyclers and about 390 collectors. And to put things into perspective, in 2009, at the peak of our program, we had about 65 recyclers and 600 collectors. In recent years, we've got concerns regarding availability of CRT glass markets. There are currently limited CRT glass outlets and also limited capacity. More recently, plastic exports have been significantly impacted by the national sport policy. And as mentioned previously, we've seen increased amounts of non-CRT material coming into the payment system. And non-CRTs pose numerous challenges to the recycling industry. They are harder to dismantle and often contain less intrinsic material value. They also contain regulated residuals such as plasma panel or fluorescent lamps. To address these challenges, CalRecycle pursued a series of regulatory actions. In 2015, it removed prohibitions regarding disposition of residual CRT glass, and disposal has become the predominant option for recyclers. This year, CalRecycle also bifurcated the single payment rate paid to recyclers to establish separate payment rates for CRT and non-CRT cover electronic waste. And subsequently, we did increase significantly the non-CRT payment rate, which is currently 60 cents per pound. And last, very recently, we also removed several obligations and streamlined reporting requirements for management of non-CRT devices. Moving from present to future, the state's program includes only a fraction of the estimated 120 million devices that are purchased in California each year. And without a change, millions of these devices could continue to be illegally disposed or improperly managed if the cost to properly manage these devices is not covered. We've also seen increased instances of fires at recycling facilities and landfills caused by shredding lithium batteries. And as I mentioned, CRT markets are virtually non-existent. In comparison, we see that other states that have e-waste laws include a much broader scope of products covering desktop computers, printers, e-readers, keyboards, and peripherals. In 2006, CalRecycle embarked on a long-term project to evaluate the options for future management of e-waste in California. And CalRecycle engaged with numerous stakeholders throughout the process. The culmination of the Futures project has been the report that CalRecycle issued in May and which was adopted as a policy recommendation by CalRecycle. Foundational to CalRecycle vision is that e-waste management should move beyond focusing solely on hazardous waste. Greater emphasis should also be placed on resource recovery and waste management hierarchy. Regardless of any model or implementation, CalRecycle believes that any change in the e-waste program must ensure several fundamental goals, such as free collection opportunities, flexibility to accommodate changing markets, clear convenience goals, appropriate management standards, enforcement and oversight, and public education. Our recommendations are structured in three categories. The first set of recommendations concerns key enhancements that should be pursued regardless of programmatic structure. The second set of recommendations concerns the programmatic structure, which model to use. And the third set of recommendations addresses emerging technologies. Most of these recommendations will require legislation. So, CalRecycle's first recommendation is to add products to the definition of a cover electronic device. Majority of stakeholders emphasize that in order to maintain free and convenient collection opportunities for the public and ensure proper end-of-life management of e-waste, additional devices and products have to be brought into the system. As such, CalRecycle recommends to adopt the Waste Electrical and Electronic Directive definition of an electronic device, which includes, with few exceptions, all the products that run on electricity. Since this definition is so broad and CalRecycle recognizes that all products cannot be added at once, we recommend to initially prioritize certain products such as those containing a battery or lamps. The second recommendation is to enhance public education and outreach. The third recommendation is to increase manufacturer responsibility. For example, existing requirements for annual reporting could be strengthened by developing specific expectations. Also, labeling the presence and location of hazardous materials in products is critical information for recyclers to prevent fires. CalRecycle also recommends that manufacturers play a greater role in outreach and education. And last recommendation is that manufacturers should work towards enhancing the durability of their products. Next recommendation addresses repair and reuse action. The Electronic Waste Recycling Act and the Carve Electronic Waste Program does not encourage reuse or repair. CalRecycle recommends facilitating partnership with repair and reuse organizations to promote reuse activities. It also recommends supporting right to repair laws. And last, CalRecycle recommends investigating the feasibility of instituting modulated fees on devices to encourage design for environment and product longevity. Next recommendation is to support market development. CalRecycle could support new markets through grants and loans, for example, for recycling processing methods as well as repair and reuse activities. Because of the challenges of collection in rural areas, CalRecycle could also explore the possibility of adding a bonus payment to the existing payment rate to cover additional transportation costs in very rural areas. Next recommendation is to initiate research activities, possibly with national and international partners on global markets, recycling technologies, or anticipated lifespan of products. The seventh recommendation is to streamline claim documentation and move towards electronic submission of payment claims, which would reduce reporting burden for recyclers. And this is something that we've already started looking into. Next recommendation is to adjust the payment rate annually. Currently, CalRecycle has the statutory authority to assess and adjust payment rates every 2 years. Adjusting the payment rate annually will allow CalRecycle the flexibility to respond quickly to changing markets. Finally, CalRecycle recommends changing the fee collection from retail level to manufacturer level to significantly reduce state resources. So all these 9 enhancements are needed regardless of programmatic structure. I'll discuss next the programmatic structure. So throughout the Futures project, we've had extensive discussion on which program and model should work best. We narrowed down to 3 approaches. So the first one would be to maintain the current fee and payment model. The second approach is to develop and transition to an extended producer responsibility model where manufacturers are responsible for the end-of-life management. And the third option is to have a combination of the two, keep the existing program for Carve Electronic Waste and have a separate EPR model for the new products. Given the extensive infrastructure that has evolved as a result of the Electronic Waste Recycling Act, any change from the existing fee and payment system would require a detailed transition plan and timeline. As such, CalRecycle recommends to expand the existing fee and payment program, which will allow for immediate implementation of key enhancements recommendation. The advantage to this approach would be to keep a system that all entities are familiar with and has demonstrated success. Also, continuing collection and recycling activities without significant disruption to the infrastructure, and also ensuring safe downstream management of materials. However, maintaining the program does come with disadvantages, and the main disadvantage is increased administrative costs. The last set of recommendations concern emerging technologies. CalRecycle has identified solar panels and batteries as items that are starting to appear in the waste stream, and CalRecycle recommends being proactive in building collection and recycling infrastructure and developing markets. Thank you.